Γεια σας, everyone. I'm super excited. We're doing this now because this is the first ever Greek genealogy webinar. And really coincidentally, the first Greek genealogy conference in New York took place on a Saturday, April 25th, 5 years ago. So that's cool. So we have decided to run a series of educational videos and webinars to help you all with your Greek ancestry research. And we'll do that because we believe that some education is a necessary complement to the collections we host on our website. This makes research so much easier for all of us and gives meaning to the records we find. And what do I mean by that? If you think about it, as genealogists, what we're interested in is not only to find out new names. What we really look for is the history of our people, right? And by knowing more about the records we find and being better able to extract information from them, we do retrieve pieces of that history. So the idea is that in this webinar and in those which will follow, we will discuss about the different types of records we come across in our research, and we will try to cover as many types as possible, but we'll start with the most common ones, okay? So for this webinar, I decided to talk about voter lists, the different kinds of voter lists that are available, where they can be found, what information they include, what problems we may face using them. So let's start with a very, very basic question. What is a voter list? A voter list is a listing of those citizens of a state who are eligible to vote in the elections. Just through this definition, we already have some elements which are very important to note. We are talking about citizens of a state who vote, right? So we're talking about modern democratic states. To be eligible to vote, these citizens need to meet some criteria, right? It is the states which determine this criteria and therefore create the voter list. And then we need elections. The first elections which took place in Greece were those of 1829, about 200 years ago. All Greek men older than 25 were eligible to vote for their representatives to the Fourth National Assembly, which took place in Argos. People from all over, from every province, even from Macedonia, from Crete, from Chios, from Samos, they sent their representatives. Voter lists from 1829 have been preserved by the GAC, the Greek General State Archives. They are handwritten and are available online, but they are not indexed, they are not name indexed, and they generally do not include more information than the individual's voter's name. Then Greece became a kingdom, okay, and elections didn't take place until the constitutional change of 1844. So Greece hadn't had elections for 15 whole years, and when they finally got them, they really enjoyed them. So those elections lasted 6 whole months. All right, can you believe that? So, with some exceptions, each deputy represented about 10,000 voters. And again, men older than 25 years were eligible to vote, but there were some restrictions. So, if your ancestor was in custody or convicted, or if he did not have enough property and a profession to live off, he could not vote, and he will not be found in the voter lists. Now, again, these voter lists of 1844 and those of later years until the early 1860s are preserved by the GAC and are available online. They are part of the so-called Ladas collection. The voter lists in this collection are sorted by region, municipality, and village. It is very easy to find the region but it's harder to find the specific village you're looking for because you need to read the Old Greek text and browse through dozens of pages. What information do these voter lists include? They include the voter's name, his father's name, they include his age, they also include the voter's profession and his property. Remember, this was a criterion to be eligible to vote, a profession and some property. And finally, they mention whether he was a native of the specific village or he had come from elsewhere, and in this case, they also mention when he moved to this village. And I know what you're thinking, this is amazing information. Yes, it is. But don't be so happy, because there are some problems. So, although this is the standard format of a voter list, we often come across many lists which are not that complete. The father's name might be missing, the occupation, the property, or the nativity status. So you also gotta be a bit lucky. Moreover, be careful with the ages listed. Sometimes the new lists were based on previous records they kept locally, so many times you get the individual's wrong age. For example, I was working on a case recently and I was using a voter list of 1847. So there were two voter lists for the same year, for the same village, and the individual I was looking for was listed twice. And his age was different in the two lists. So in one list he was 30 years old, in the other he was 37. So in this case, in order to confirm the correct age, you need additional sources, right? Now, all these lists are not name indexed, but you will be finding more and more of them on Greek Ancestry. Currently, we have records from 1844 lists of Laconia, Sparta, Messinia, Kalamata, and Andros, the island. And we'll be adding more. In total, there are about 50 regions covered. Now, there is another type of voter lists, later and typed. Again, they are preserved by the GAC and they are available online. These voter lists can be found in two GAC collections, the Vlachogiannis collection and the Parliament collection. These lists are much easier to read and find, and many of you might have already found relevant records for your family. What is great about these is their standard format. So you have the voter's name, father's name, age, occupation. Okay? In some cases, there is also reference to the voter's current residence in case he had moved abroad or to another area of the country. Note that with the new electoral law of 1864, the age limit for voting decreased from 25 years to 21. So you will find younger people in those lists. These two collections combined cover almost all the country with its 1870 borders, right? Time-wise, they cover the period from the 1860s to the 1880s, but the Vlachogiannis collection, fortunately, also includes a list of Athens of the 1920s. So, if you have refugee ancestors from Asia Minor who settled in Athens, you might be able to find them. Now, well, guess what? Again, these lists are not name indexed. However, the Vlachogiannis collection will soon be available on MyHeritage. I cannot reveal the exact date, but it's going to be within the next few weeks. So be ready for that. Plus, the Parliament collection, most of it is already available on our website, on Greek Ancestry. Now, there are two more things I want you to keep in mind. Perhaps there will be a special webinar and videos for both of these, but let me address them really quick. So the first thing is administrational changes. As I said, the voter lists are sorted by region, municipality, and village. But the borders of the municipality, even their names, they change very often. So you may find voter lists for village X, okay, in one municipality, and then earlier or later lists for the very same village in a different municipality. So when you do research on your own, please keep that in mind. It's really important. And then the second thing, which I find even more important, is spellings. So as the years passed, spellings of names, surnames, could change. So once you have identified the particular village your family lived in, keep an open mind when it comes to spellings. In the JPEG files I have posted, and I think also in Carol's PDF, on slide 8, you can see a very good example covering many of the problems of voter lists. So we chose an individual, Andreas Kostakos, born in Agios Ioannis, Sparta. So if you notice, his name, we have two voter lists from 1844 and from 1872. If you notice, his name is spelled differently. So in the 1844 record, he is listed as Kostakos. In 1872 as Konstakos with an N, while it's the same person. His father's name is not included in neither list. And now also, if you take a look at his age, he was listed as 35 years old in 1844 and as 57 years old in 1872. So there's 6 years discrepancy. Now, if I had to choose the right age, I would choose the one which seems, let's say, less standard. What I mean is 57 looks like someone thought a bit more about it, while 35 could also be a rounded age, if you know what I mean. So I guess I'm pretty much done with what I wanted to bring up. So now the floor is yours. I will start by answering some of the questions you have already sent us by email and those you sent in the chat here. And but please, if there's anything else, just keep asking, okay? All right. So I'm waiting for my good friend Carol here to tell me what to start with. So Carol, if you like, we can start answering the questions. So if you have gathered some already. Carol's typing. All right, so first question. Do the two voter list collections cover the whole country? No, they don't. So they cover most of the country, and there can be municipalities for which there are no voter lists, while there can be others, on the other hand, for which there are more than two voter lists. So it really depends. Okay, so what if I don't find my ancestor in the voter list? What should I do then? Okay, so first of all, let's think why he is not in the voter list. Is it possible that he was not of age yet? Or so he was younger than 25 or 21 years old? Or is it possible that he had passed by then? And then there are many possible scenarios. So he wasn't really from that village, or he had moved somewhere else. And then, of course, spellings. So if you're certain about the village, or this is at least what you know, right, try to find other types of records. There will be special webinars about each of these, but you could use mail registers, what we call in Greek Mitro Arenon. You could see Δημοτολόγια, town registers, military lists, church records, whatever. Actually, on Greek Ancestry, we do have a wide variety of records you can use. Now, another question I see here. So, accuracy. How accurate are the voter lists? So, the typed lists, they were typewritten. So, there can be errors, right? And when it comes to the handwritten lists, the index we create is always a product of our reading and our understanding of the language. So, it's possible to have some errors, especially when the script is too blurry, or the image is of low quality. Is there a resource to learn about border changes? Yes, there are two kinds of resources, but they are both in Greek. So there are some books which explain where each village belonged. On Greek Ancestry and under Education Resources, we also have a link to a dictionary of Greek villages in the Peloponnese, and it mentions the municipality. But I can also I will add some more, two more links, okay, which explain, in some cases, exactly the administrational history of a village. So where it belonged first and what happened later. How do you know if it's the same person from one voter list to the other when you have two different ages and possibly even spellings? All right. So, this is a very good question, actually. So, if you find one person, only one, with the same name, right, in two voter lists, and the ages make at least some sense, so like with Andreas Kostakos, there was a 6 years discrepancy, but it wasn't a 20 years discrepancy, right? So it sounds logical, but it's also important to know there was not someone else. So what would worry me the most would be what would happen if I have two people in one voter list with the same name. So that's what's really challenging, right? So then you would need to try to make any to reach conclusions based on the age, but also on the father's name. That's also very helpful. Are there any occupations that were excluded from voting rights? I cannot answer that question because if I have... So all the occupations I've seen on voter lists were obviously not excluded, so I don't know. But that's something very interesting. For example, I'm wondering if prostitution would be a recognized, first of all, profession, and then, but then, well, no, that was stupid. So, because women didn't have the right to vote until later in the 20th century. So I think, I don't think there would be. For example, we even find servants in the voter lists. Do the voter lists include the islands, Skopelos and Chios, for example? I think they do include Skopelos. About Chios, the 1829 voter list does include Chios because Chios sent their representative to the assembly. But, and this is very interesting, Greek citizens who lived in Chios in the 1860s have been recorded, and we do have voter lists for them. But they should be Greek citizens. So an Ottoman citizen would not be found in the Greek voter list because he could not vote in Greek elections. Will there be other areas of Crete on your website? Yes, we already have some 30 villages from Lasithi, and we will be adding some records from Iraklio and Rethymno. Up until what year are voter lists available? Alright, so this is interesting. On the GAC website, the latest voter list is that of Athens, 1924, 1925. For the other areas of the country, the latest ones I've seen are from 1890. And those are the ones that include the residents I mentioned before. Any info on how voter lists were compiled when areas became part of Greece? Did they get Ottoman records or register everyone from scratch? My dad's folks were from Macedonia, so joined 1913. Alright, so I don't know. I think they did rely on some Ottoman era records. Don't forget that the Greek communities during the Ottoman times did have some municipal status, so they did keep some records for themselves. If your dad's family was from Thessaloniki, just wait a couple of days and we'll have something really cool. Will there ever be female records? So records for females, yes. Church records are a case in point. They include males and females regardless. Also town registers include the females, but as you know, females are generally underrepresented in the records. And there is an article I had written on Greek Ancestry about some thoughts about the absence of women from records. So this is a very specific question. Someone asks how she or he can find the family from Koroni. Okay, so please, about this, please send me a message later or an email so that I can really think about it, okay? So someone again about female records including females. Yes, notarial records, contracts are also very, very helpful, especially when we're talking about dowries. They include the bride's name, but also her parents' names and what she got as a dowry. So I've seen records saying, she got a golden ring or an icon or blankets, whatever. wanting to know how to trace voter lists from Nemea. Nemea belongs to the Corinth region. So you can search, I think, under, so if you go on the GAC website, you will find the region of Corinth in the Vlachoyan's collection, which will be available on MyHeritage. Maximum age to vote. I don't think there was any restriction. Besides, back then, people didn't live really, really long. So I think the average age was between 50 and 60. Rethymno. I mentioned we will have some records, not too many, but we're doing our best to cover all the country. Voter list from Epirus. So this is a very interesting question, and I guess there will be more like this. So all these areas which became part of Greece after the Balkan Wars, the GAC do not have voter lists for them. I am referring to the central office of the GAC in Athens. Now, the regional offices might have voter lists for those areas, and in general there are also voter lists in in smaller collections, smaller archives, like for example the records we have for Lassithi, which became part of Greece in 1913, that region of Crete. We do have voter lists for that area from the 1910s, and we also own the original documents. So those voter lists can be found, but there are, except for the GAC, there are no other, let's say, collections, big collections. They are all very dispersed. My father's uncle, who was a priest, is not on there, even prior to becoming a priest. Okay, so again, in this case, you should check if he was of age, if he had passed, if he was a priest somewhere else. So there are many, many factors, many reasons why someone is not found in a voter list. Same what I was talking about before about Trikala, the newly acquired areas of the Greek state. Asia Minor, Tenedos. No voter lists for that, but there are refugee records. So if you're interested in that, just send us an email and we'll give you all the info. I had posted an article some years ago, but that's down now, so and I will send you the text, so just don't hesitate contacting. Demos Triteas in Achaia. Yes, there will be records for Tritea on MyHeritage's Greek collection, but also on ours. I do not know how to read and translate Ottoman records, but we will soon include that service. The earliest records we can access. Well, okay, so the earliest records of the Greek state started being created right after the Greek Revolution. So it wasn't a state yet, but you know, they kept some records for any sort of operations. Military records, pensions, lists of orphans. So I would say that Greek records, the earliest you can get is from the 1820s, Greek records. And then we go into the Ottoman time and local community records. So, you know, it doesn't stop somewhere. It also depends on the region, of course. about a question about a movement from Sparta to Kalymnos. So as I said before, Greek nationals in the Ottoman Empire still had the right to vote. So theoretically, there should be voter lists for Greek nationals in Ottoman Kalymnos, but I cannot tell you with certainty. What you could do would be to use other types of records. See if your father was registered in Chrysafa. You can use mail registers and town registers for that. Church records will also be very helpful in with what you're looking for. Kato Panaya in Asia Minor. No, there are records. Send us an email. It's a long story, so there are two types of records we could use. So just send us a message later or an email, and I will explain. Kosmas and Vrodamas villages. Any records from there? Those two villages are in Vrodamas is in Laconia, near my village, Yeraki, and Kosmas is also near my village, but belongs to Arcadia. So yeah, we will have records for those areas. Topics that will be coming up in the future: church records, vital records. Yeah, we will try to cover everything: mail registers, town registers, military lists, census records, church records, pensions, appointments, what else? Captives list, everything. Lists of name changes from nicknames, paratsouklya, to surnames. I cannot answer this question with certainty. I know that Family Search had digitized some Greek records in the 1980s, and there are some folders called name changes. So perhaps that's relevant, but I haven't looked through them, and I do know that they are not indexed. So this is a bit hard. But what you can do, many times in voter lists and in mail registers, town registers, church records, whatever, you get both surnames. So you could see, for example, Kostakos or Anagnostou. Okay, so it gives you both names, both the correct surname, the real surname, and the nickname. How often are the elections? Oh, forget about that. Well, back in the 19th century, Greece had elections every now and then. So, you mentioned between 1910 and 1920. Many elections. There were elections in 1910. There were elections in 1913, I think, and then there was a gap between 1915 and 1920. So there were like 3 or 4 elections in the 1910s. Greek marriage certificates. They are found in the local churches, but also at the metropolises. Not very easy to access or search through them. MyHeritage will have marriage certificates from all of Laconia, Sparta, soon. So just wait for that. And yes, on my website, we do not have such records at the moment, but we will. It's a matter of some months. Greek names are patronymic. Are there any lists of the prior surnames? Again, my answer is the same with before. You can only depend on records which have both surnames. Plus, remember that surnames is a modern thing. surnames, people didn't use surnames back in the 18th century. Only some big noble families. I would be just the son of my father and nothing else. So I would have, my surname would be his first name in the genitive case. The article for smeared on Asia Minor, yes, just please remind me with a separate email, and I will explain everything. But we'll anyway, we'll do a webinar on Asia Minor. I see there is some interest. They had to, so someone asks, did someone have to vote in the village of their birth? They had to vote where they had to vote at the municipality they had been registered in. So that could be your place of birth, but if you had moved to another place and had registered at the new municipality, you would vote there. This is an interesting question. So if someone is listed on a municipal roll in 1841 in Ermoupoli, Syros, could we assume he would be on the 1844 voter list? Yeah, that's a fair assumption. But it's also something that, like, if you don't find the name, as I explained, there are many reasons why that could have happened. Also, in the municipal roll, it would be interesting to see if he was born in, if it says that, if he was born in Syros or elsewhere. So your dad, so we have someone here asking, my family owned a store in Athens but owned homes in Athens and Kefalonia. I've never found my dad in either list. Where should he be? Date of birth is 1923. I guess this is what you mean. So in this case, if your dad was born in 1923, there are no voter lists for after that. So when he would be an adult, perhaps his father could be found in the Athens voter list, but he could also be in the Kefalonia voter list. So my suggestion in this case would be to contact the archives of Kefalonia as well to see if the family really was there and where exactly. New voter lists at the Greek National Archive. Well, don't ask me, ask them. They get new material all the time. So, and this is what keeps research going, right? So new stuff is found, discovered, but I don't know. Regional offices have records which are not online, so perhaps you would like to contact the regional office in the area your ancestors came from and ask them if they have any additional voter lists or other material. If someone had two places of residence, Athens and a village, would the records be in Athens? Both places. What about military records? Would I have the ability for access? They could be, depending on the type of the record, there could be records in both places. Military records were created mostly, so we're talking about draft lists. Someone was called for service at the age of 21. So these are the military lists were created by the municipality the individual was registered in. So it wouldn't be both places. Someone asks about communities, changed names, communities, villages, municipalities, yeah, changed names. How can we find what and when they were changed to? As I said, there is already a link to a dictionary on Greek ancestry under education, under resources. It's Dictionary of the Towns and Villages of the Peloponnese. And I will add 2 more links, which give a more detailed breakdown of the administrational history of the village. But those are going to be in Greek. So if you're interested in a particular village, you can just send us an email, and we will send you the administrational history. We'll translate it for you. Where can we find gazetteers to find the time that communities change names? Alright, same answer, okay? So you can just let me know in an email which area you're interested in, and we'll let you know. My grandmother was born in Larissa, 1904. The family moved to Athens. I believe after her father had died, she was still a minor. Where would be a good starting point to search? Okay, so if they moved to Athens, if she had an older brother, an older brother, they should be found in the voter list of Athens of 1925, if they 24-25, if they registered there. Otherwise, you can contact the archives, the GAC, General State Archives of Larissa, and they can help you, I guess. I think that for Larissa there are also some school records from those years, so that would also be very interesting. His place of birth. So again, the same question, I guess, about Hermoupoli. Sarah, his age on the record was 22. Sarah was dead in 1822. Yeah, so your family was from Psara originally and moved to Syros. I'm not really, I'm thinking about it. Normally your person should be found in the 1844 voter list of Hermoupoli. Also check the rest of the villages of Syros. There are also, this is a spoiler, but we also have some records from Chios and Psara. I think we also have Psara, who left after the massacres, who survived the massacres, and went to to islands of the Greek state, and there are some records for them. So if you like, send us an email, and I'll look more into this, because now someone is from Crete but lived in Piraeus or Nikia for a while. Where would there? Okay, where can I find these records? Okay, when was he born in Crete is the first question. There are, so if and where, right? So if he was from Chania, we have all the mail registers of Chania on our website. All of them. 56,000 names. So perhaps you can find them there. Otherwise, Piraeus. There are some records for Piraeus online. Please remind me, and I will by email, and I will send you the link. It's in Greek, of course. So again, you could find records for this individual in both places, both in Attica, Piraeus and Nikia and all that area, and in Crete. But it depends on the area, the time period, the type of records. I find it difficult struggle to locate records on GAC. Well, and what do you want me to say about this? So this is why Greek Ancestry was founded, practically, and we do our best to create searchable databases. So we already have some regions, and then we'll have more. The problem with the GAC website is that it's not name indexed. Part of its collections are not indexed at all, so you cannot even search for types of records, or but they've done a great job. If you think about it, they have millions of records made available. What areas do you have on Greek Ancestry, and what type of records? We have many types of records: voter lists, we have ship registers, orphans lists, we have captives lists, we have what else do we have? Mail registers, and we have records at the moment for Chania, Lasithi, the Cyclades, the Κυκλάδες, Laconia, Messenia, Arcadia, Argolida, Etolocarnania. I might be forgetting something, and we'll add 4 new areas on May 1st. Someone is asking about my heritage records and when they will be available. I am not allowed to say, but it will be very soon. There was a delay because of the virus situation, but now I think we are getting there. So it's a matter of some weeks. Let's see if there are... I guess it's time to wrap up. So I don't... Okay, someone asks about Thessalia, if there are records from there, voter lists from there. I don't remember, to be honest. I'm not sure, but it's not impossible. It's possible. Also, the regional archives might have something. We will do a webinar about Asia Minor. Records from Mytilene, you should contact the local archive. We also have some records not published yet, so if you like, just send us an email. So I think it's time to end this webinar. We did almost 1 hour, which is great, and it's really good that you participated so much, because it would be a bit weird just talking to myself. So thank you all. If there are any other questions, you can always contact us on Facebook on Greek Ancestry, through our website under contact. You can also book a free Greek genealogy consultation through our website under extras. And I guess we will do another webinar very, very soon. The question is it going to be weekly or every other week? We will decide about that. What is your email address? It's ancestry@outlook.com, but you can find everything on the Facebook page and on the website. All right, that's it. Thank you all, and we will see each other soon. Okay. Bye. I'm trying to close this. All right. Bye, guys. See you next time.